And so, that takes us into the main event of the prelim card. Again, take that with a grain of salt.
This is amazing.
This could easily move into the main card or fluctuate with other fights. So, we're going to coin it as the main event of the prelim first. But, we got a nice featherweight bout here between Flash Gordon, who we've touched on a few times.
You love that name.
Of course, man. Of course. And he's actually doing justice to the name, apart from the other, Flash Gordon here. And, he'll be taking on Danny Chavez here. So Flash Gordon comes in with a 16-4 record. He has gone 4-3 in the UFC since entering it back in 2017. Most recently, his loss came at the hands of your boy here, Charles Olivera, in 2019 via
pretty crazy, right? Like the names that he's seeing when you look at he might not be someone that people are talking about, but that's one thing that I guess you're kind of learning de facto from me. It's like, it's not about learning the guys' names. It's like, look at who they fought and look at who they've lost to. That's how you figure out, really who's kind of at least approaching a certain level, because either they look terrible against, above average, UFC fighters, or they look, just as terrible against championship level fighters. And it's like, do you consider that a loss in MMA? Probably not, bro. Probably not. That's an experience fight.
And honestly, I think we've seen that recently in a bunch of guys who have these deceiving records, right? You're like, oh, this guy's 8-8 in the UFC. He's 4-3 in the UFC. How is he still around, right? But then you dive into them and you're like, oh, yeah, it's because he's fighting OGs here,
You're so that's bang on, right? That's 100% bang on.
Yeah, for sure. So, he did bounce back with the unanimous decision win in 2020 against Chris Fishgold. So, looking forward to seeing him getting back in the ring. Danny, on the flip side, another immaculate record, right? 11-3, exciting young prospect here. Well, not young. He's actually older than Flash Gordon, but exciting prospect in here. That's actually won 4 in a row. He made his UFC debut at UFC 252, taking on TJ Brown and winning that one in decision. So, really looking forward to this. One thing I got to ask you, man, I don't even know if you have the answer to this, but reading up on this guy, it seems like on the message boards, there's a lot of talk about a cuckold situation with him. You know anything about this?
It's not the part of MMA that I choose to look into, because if I found out a lot about some of these fighters' personal lives, I'm sure that some of them would throw me right off, I've been exposed to a little bit back in the early days when things were a little bit more exposed for what you're looking for, but no, sir. No, sir. Right. Shall we do it?
Yeah, it was just surprising, man. I'm reading up on some of his past bouts, and literally the comment sections are just flooded about the fact, how are you going to let your wife do this and stuff? I'm like, man, what the hell happened here?
Jeez. Now, I mean, we're probably going to do some research off the clock here, because that just has me kind of wondering. It's funny because even to bring the conversation back to MMA, I had a follow-up question for you anyway. And it's when you kind of talk about the records, right? You go down his list. I mean, you talk about the promotions that he's fought for. You talk about the people that he's lost to. It's a little bit different, right? Wouldn't you say that you kind of get a different vibe when you look at a guy like Jared Gordon? Because for me, Jared Gordon and Danny Chavez, to you, there's nothing really separating them until you kind of dive into them,
In fact, you might just clearly look at record and give Danny the edge, right? And it's like, whoa, hold up, man. If you look at those 4 losses that Jared Gordon has, those amount for 3-4 of your wins.
100%. Especially with that first UFC loss to our boy Diego Ferreira, who just looked the part against, I thought that fight was beautiful against Dariush, and Dariush just came out as the man that deserves the next step, and he's looked the part too. Yeah. So these are the kind of guys where you just want to see if they keep giving him these kinds of fights, what happens. Because one thing about Danny Chavez I want you to keep in mind is, his striking looked very accurate. The way he kind of landed some of his shots that can drop guys. I mean, he waits and punches. Those guys that kind of look, wait, boom, kind of. He has those shots, and I mean, you got to be those are the scarier fighters to kind of keep an eye on, especially against guys who like to volume strike, keep their hands down, because not everybody's moving their head like Max Holloway. Not everybody's moving their feet like Max Holloway, and punching at the same time and coming at you with 3 times, 4 times more punches than you can possibly throw. It's just that's the different cup of tea, right? And that's what makes this fight a little scary because I think whoever picks their shot here could drop a man.
All right. So, safe to say we'll be looking at some unders here, but let's dive right into the line. Who do you see being the favorite on this one?
I mean, it's weird, right? I think that Chavez is one of those scary guys that I just don't want to go against, man, because no one's ever knocked him out, right? Like it's really hard for me. And Gordon has been finished by strikes. And so for me, I'm loving unders in this, so I hope we can look into those. But I think you have to give Gordon the edge here. I think Gordon deserves the edge from a Vegas perspective. I don't see any reason for him not to be. And I think from a Vegas end, based on how most of these fights go, I'm still giving him a -200.
Yeah, so to be honest, man, I was surprised when I saw this line myself, because I expected Gordon to be the favorite as well. Chavez comes in as a slight favorite, -125 here.
And man, I'll be honest with you. If he was the dog, I was going to tell you, man, the sprinkle there is not a bad option. I really don't see, because the way you want to approach the fight is really just kind of valuing the fighter based on that number. And I could see his style being an issue, at least for Gordon. Like Gordon's going to move his feet. He's going to try to land shots, and he can mix it up fairly well. But yeah, I was really impressed with the way Gordon was able to pick his punches. And sorry, I was really impressed with the way the other man was able to pick his punches. And I think that Chavez, if he does kind of get that shot in, especially late, if both men are a little bit, off their power leg and kind of just trying to throw for points, this is the kind of guy you want to watch out for.
Absolutely. So stay tuned for this one. It looks like we are going to be looking at some unders. So when those lines get released, if we do end up taking anything, we'll be sure to let you know.
For sure.
Safe to say, we are pumped for this one. UFC Vegas 19 takes place next Saturday, headlined by our boy, the Black Beast, taking on Curtis Blaydes. We got a bunch of beauty heavyweight fights on that card, so I'm super pumped for it. That wraps it up today. If you haven't already done so, smash that like button, hit that bell button, give us that subscribe, the follow. All our Instagram, Twitter is all there. Any questions, comments you guys have, just send them our way. Anything else, Siraj?
I mean, just be ready. Like, we keep pumping this fight up, but be ready for a 5-round wrestling match where Curtis Blaydes isn't able to finish this man, and Derrick Lewis isn't able to get off his back after 3 rounds, and you're just watching a guy get taken down for 5 rounds. So just be ready for that as well.
Nice little disclaimer there, my man. Always a pleasure, dude. Take care.
You too, my guy. Take care.